We're going to call the Tuesday, May 22nd, 2018 Horry County Solid Waste Authority regular meeting to order. Mr. Thompson, since Mr. Johnson's not here, will you do our invocation, please? And the Pledge of Allegiance will be by Mr. Michael Campbell.
Yes, ma'am.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for all the many rich blessings you bestowed upon us. Please forgive us for all our sins. We know there are many. Guide us and protect us and help us to make good decisions for the citizens of Horry County. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda's been approved. We need approval of minutes for April 24th, 2018 public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. They have been approved. We need approval of the minutes for April 24th, 2018 regular meeting.
I make a motion we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes have been approved. We do not have any public input, so we will go directly into departmental reports and updates, and the first one will be recycling and corporate affairs. Starts on page 16.
Good evening. Good evening. How y'all doing? Y'all awake? Y'all here?
Good evening.
Hey.
Hello.
As Ms. Creech indicated, my report begins on page 16. I'm going to begin with an update on the Smart Gardener workshop, which was held last week, the 16th and 17th. This is the workshop that we hold annually that encourages residents to come out and learn about proper plant watering, good pests, bad pests, growing a healthy vegetable garden. Mr. Gary Forrester from Clemson Extension acts as our leader for the workshop. We had a good turnout this year. We had approximately 35 in attendance on Wednesday the 16th. And then 42 in attendance on Thursday the 17th. So we also had, and there's a picture in your paper, Blackwater Middle School to donate several dozens of plants, starter plants that they began as a part of their Carton to Garden program to the workshop. So not only did they get good information, they also had the opportunity to leave with starter vegetables to put in their own gardens. So special thanks to our staff members, Victoria Johnson, Kendra Hook, Cecil Terry, for all they do to put that workshop together, because it does take some work. Next, I want to give you an update on our annual progress report. As you know, every year we, as a county, are required to report to DHEC our recycling and waste diversion figures. We completed our task back in September as far as getting information to DHEC on our own recycling, as well as those other businesses and municipalities who reported their information to us. We were informed this past month that overall, the state's MSW rate had increased from 25.4% in fiscal year 16 to 28.7% in fiscal year 17. As far as Horry County's recycling rate goes, we also did see an increase. Our fiscal year 16 figure was 30.28%. And our fiscal year 17 figure was 35.56%. That's a very significant increase from one year to the next. We always like to look at what may have caused our numbers to go up or down, in either way. And in looking at some of the figures from fiscal year 17, One that stood out significantly was the amount of yard waste trimmings that, or organic residential waste that were received. And I'm sure you all remember there was a hurricane in October of 2016. So those things do affect your recycling rates. So that did cause us to see a definite increase in that area. There were also increases realized in commercial and institutional metal and paper commodities. As far as the overall diversion rate for the county, there was a very slight increase from fiscal year 16 to fiscal year 17. We remind you, as we do with DHEC every year, that, you know, even though these numbers look and sound good, we can't say that they're a true picture of what we have going on here in Horry County, because municipalities, the county, as well as higher institutions of education and your K through 12 schools are required to report, whereas businesses are not. So until everybody is reporting across the board, that figure is what that figure is. We'll just take it for what it's worth.
Is there a sense that we're underreporting?
I believe we are, yes, sir, and I believe that sense is across the state.
Thank
Last but not least, I want to report on our Clark Green-handed recipient for the month of April, Miss Lois Johnson. We met up with her at the Mount Olive Recycling Center, and I won't tell Miss Johnson's age, even though she told it to us while we were there, but she said in all her years of being here on Earth, she had never won anything. So she was really excited, to say the least. It's funny when Mr. Suggs did this particular presentation, and he makes me laugh because he'll walk up to somebody while they're in the midst of recycling, and he said, "What are you doing there?" And they kind of are taken aback a little bit. What am I doing it wrong? And then when he tells them they won something, they really kind of, okay. But she was very happy, to say the least. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next departmental report, Finance Administration.
Good evening. The financial reports begin on page 23. We are through a good part of the year, and we should be at about 83.33% of our budget. As you can see, our solid waste is just running slightly below budget at 82.35% of budget. Our mixed construction, of course, is well above at 136.42% of budget, which we're glad to see. And then our yard waste is, again, just slightly below at 80.85% of budget. So we're glad to see that our tipping fees are running right along with, you know, where we had anticipated, if not above, at least maybe just slightly below. As you can see, the recyclable sales are at 88.87% of budget, so they are running ahead of budget, which is great. Our C&D processing facility, as you can see, the revenue year to date is $317,420.21, with our expenses being $498,095.57. So they are seeing a deficit of $180,675.36. But as you can see, the landfill airspace savings, and that's got to be wrong. It's got 6.58 days of landfill airspace, and I think that's incorrect. We'll get that corrected. Because I remember last month there was a whole lot more than that, and that would have it down quite a bit. So we'll get that corrected. I apologize for that. And the materials recycling facility with the collection and hauling program, as you can see, is at $4,637,402.70 revenue, and their expenses are at $4,750,693.43. They are seeing a slight deficit of $113,290.73. Of course, a big part of that has to do with the prices that we're getting on the commodities being still lower. They are up a little bit, but they are still running a little bit behind. But as you can see, they've saved almost 50 days of landfill airspace. Well, so they're doing quite well. Over on page 25, look at the income statement. As you can see, for the month, we had revenue over expenses of $223,242.99. And year-to-date, our revenue over expenses of $2,691,658.70. As you can see, our revenue is running at 91.74% of budget. So we'll definitely exceed our budget this year, which is great. And as you can see, our expenses are well below at 80.75% of budget. So staff is doing a great job of maintaining. Usually as we hit the end of the year, we start to see some, unusual expenses that maybe we've held off during the year, but staff is continuing to watch that and monitor everything very closely. So I have to commend them on continuing to do so as we finish out this year. I'm going to turn over to page 33, which is the C&D recycling facility. As you can see, they continue to take in quite a bit of material again this month, at a little over 1,300 tons that they took in. So they're doing a great job of continuing to send the vehicles over there. The percentages were down just a little bit this month from last month, where only 14% of the C&D material went over to the processor and 86% went up on the landfill. It's just slightly down, but like I said, they're continuing, like I said, to take as much and send as much over there as they can. On page 37 is our MRF update. As you can see, the average price for the month was up a good little bit, a good little jump at $141.05. That's up from last month where it was $104.87. Like I said, we did sell a little bit more tonnage this month with the 2,129.35 tons as compared to last month at 2,079.8 tons. But definitely the price increase helps getting that revenue up. The incoming tonnage was about the same this month as it was last month. Same amount for Horry County as it was for Charleston. As you can see, we did have a cost share due from Charleston of $15,131.62. So for the month, the MRF revenue was $315,480.57, with our expenses being $306,930.06. So we did see revenue over expenses for the month of $8,550.51. Year-to-date, the MRF revenue is $4,003,281.73, and the expenses are $3,464,616.27. So year-to-date, we've seen revenue over expenses of $538,665.46. And like I said, we are running just slightly behind where we were last year this time. The expenses are about the same, but our revenue is down just a little bit. So like I said, hopefully we'll continue to see that go up. I'm going to let Mike kind of talk to you a little bit about where the prices are going. Do you have any questions for me?
Jan, with the revenues in excess of $2 million more than the budget and expenses being held down, are we able to fund the closure and post-closure accounts more than we had anticipated? Or are we?
We will. We are funding them what we had anticipated funding them, and so we will do an actual, at the end of the year, do a transfer to actually put more money into maybe the equipment replacement fund and the future construction, because those are the two areas that we are running a little bit low on that we had talked about during the budget retreat. So we will be able to do a transfer for that. Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Operations?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
The first thing I want to try is the leachate building. We did complete the leachate building. You can see there, this is the old site. We tore the building down. There was a building there, and we tore it down. Have you got any more pictures there? And we'll flip through the pictures a little bit. You can see we actually put a wall up on this when we had problems with when it rained, that the water would come into the building. And we put a block wall around this one and built the building up on top of the block wall to try to stop some of the water going into the facility. And we actually put a new walkway in as well. And go ahead if you like, yes, Cecil. All right, and there's a metal rectangle. Now you got to remember that we did this building. We started this, or Bill actually started this in August of last year, trying to get this building done. And we just got it completed here in May. and it was done by Homewood Metal, did the building. Y'all, then that's the final product. That was the part of the old building that was there. It was rotting down around us, so we put a metal building up, put it up so the water couldn't get into it, and was able to, we think we got a good building. We put air conditioning in it. So to try to keep, this is where we do all the testing for the leachate that's being discharged in the Grand Strand Water and Sewer Authority.
I have a question, Mike. We've learned in Pawleys that whenever you're sequestering leachate, you're also sequestering gas.
Mhm.
So we're suggesting that we make sure that whenever we're trapping leachate, that we ought to also provide ventilation, so we don't provide a
The-
potential.
These tanks are open at top. None of those tanks are enclosed.
The room doesn't have any,
It's all the piping and stuff is totally enclosed, so
Sealed.
it's all sealed up. So all we do is pump the water directly out of the tanks, directly in the Grand Strand Water Sewer, and there's no opening or vents available in those.
because the only ventilation I saw was the air conditioning.
Right,
That's why I was
yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
So it was a surprise to me, but it seems, it's logical that
Yeah.
leachate and gas are going to be commingled in there.
Right, but all these are solid pipes in there. There's no way for the gas to get out. And one of the reasons for the air conditioner is because we have to go in here and test this stuff every morning. So we go in and we got a table set up and we do like a little lab test of a thing before we can do any discharge, and we do that every morning.
Taken out of the pipes or taken out of the tank?
Got a little valve you open up,
You do have
a little small, like opening a water spigot.
And the building is air conditioned, so it is well ventilated.
Yeah.
And you test this before we send it to Grand Strand Water?
We test it every morning. Now, we just send it regularly, and we test it, and then we have to let Grand Strand Water and Sewer know what those test results are.
Do they test it when they get it as
They
well?
come out periodically and do testing of the water as well on their own.
Okay, and we can test that here at our facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have been doing a landfill gas expansion. It was actually, substantial completion was, actually done on, I believe we skipped over one thing, but that's fine. I've got on, the next thing on your agenda is the household hazardous waste, and I'll tell you a little bit about it before we move on to the landfill gas expansion. We actually removed 55,390 pounds. We have, so far in FY18, we've done 153,095 pounds of material that we've taken out or shipped from the household hazardous waste. Give you an idea, just to give you some numbers I was looking at, we did 17 55-gallon drums of batteries last month, since the last time that we collected. And almost 10,000 pounds. So, and then we've, in latex paint, they collected 30,000 pounds of latex paint.
The batteries and the paint, is that unusual for that amount? What is the?
That's
norm?
about normal.
About normal.
But I was looking back in January, when it was done in January, there was actually 11 barrels of 55-gallon drums. So batteries and paint's the big thing that's going in and out of there. Now, the landfill gas expansion, we had substantial completion. In other words, the system was operating on April the 23rd. We got it up and operating, start pumping water and landfill gas out of it. We had to have the final walkthrough on May 4th, walk through the system with the things, and the final completion date of the whole system, where they've come out and done the surveys and turned everything, is for May 23rd. We do think that'll be a little bit longer, a few days. We had some survey points that's a little bit off, and they'll have to come back out and resurvey them, so before they give it the final as-built drawings on the system. We are getting we're running almost 100,000 cubic feet of, square cubic feet of gas coming out of the system. We're getting some good gas out of the system. And as we fine tune it and get it going, we'll be, get as much as we can. But we're running about 2 full engines right now.
Two.
Yeah, so, let's see. Over at the Solid Waste Authority, MRF, we took in about 10 tons less, actually about 13 tons than we did last year. So we're right on numbers to do with that. Actually, I was just looking at the wrong numbers. I had the wrong numbers marked. About 600 tons more this year than we did last month in the month of April. So we upped our total tons coming in. Our prices continue to be, be a big issue for us. In April of 2017, our average price was $162 a ton. We were selling wet, because it was so wet, we sold wet cardboard for $54 a ton this past month, dry cardboard for $119. The average for them was about $83, which is about half of what we got last year during the same time. Newspaper did go up. It went up to about $72 a ton from $56 from the prior month. And this is in the month of May that I'm talking about. It went up. At newspaper, cardboard actually went down. It went down to $80. And, of course, office paper continues to go up. And the big plastics are holding their market pretty good. Plastics is doing good. Aluminum's doing good. So those are the high dollar volume numbers that's coming out of the MRF currently. China did, since the, I don't know if this had anything to do with it, since the announcement yesterday that China and America was going to work together on trades, China has released a bunch of permits for more recyclable material to go into China. So we're hoping that you'll see the prices start ticking up now that they've released those permits.
That's good news.
For material.
Previous week, they put a 30-day freeze on all.
Yep. So they put that 30-day freeze on today. We got notified today that they had released more permits for material to come back into the country. So we're hoping that everything will get straightened out there and the market prices will go up. It's a struggle to try to hold down prices and still get everything done and still meet the quality. The quality issue is the big issue, meeting that good quality issue. And the other thing would be the driver of the month is Brian White with Waste Management. He's a driver and does a good job on the landfill. He actually makes recommendations sometimes to us, and we think that's a good deal. When he tells us there's going to be an issue with a container or something that's coming in advance, and what do you want us to do with it, we think there's going to be an issue, and we have drivers doing that. Sure helps us out a lot. Try to answer any questions y'all may have.
Can you project how our market's going to?
It would be a guess. If they turn in more permits loose, as they indicated today, prices will go up because be more demand. But what's happening now is all it's going to other countries, and as it goes to other countries, everybody's shipping theirs there, so the other countries are buying it for what they want to.
Has India been improving as a market?
Do what now?
Has India been improving as a market? 'Cause
Price has been going down for India because all the volume for the United States is headed in that direction.
So they were able to take advantage.
They're taking advantage of the amount of volume that's in the market right now. You know, unless China picks up that market and takes it back, there's a lot of places that you read articles about people taking their plants and moving to other countries to try to move across the border into other countries to try to be able to process it like they want, since China has so many hard regulations on them. It's amazing how dependent our recycling industry is to China's market.
Well, it was a surprise when China started taking it, and it's been a holiday since they did start taking it.
Right.
And we were taking advantage of it by sending them stuff that was not very clean.
That's correct.
So I hope we're going to continue to look.
And all the articles that you read say we did it to ourselves.
Yeah.
We were sending waste to them and trash to them and wasn't paying attention. Brokers were buying it and sending it, and the people that were generating sort of broke away from what was actually going on in China and didn't really care as long as they could sell it. And now we've got this on our hand.
But I'm impressed that we continue to try to give them the cleanest material we can make.
Most of our fiber has been going to China. It has not stopped. So, but because the other markets are down so bad, it runs all of it down.
Thank you. Executive Director.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mike. First point is the SWANA conference that we had in Pawleys. I think it was a well-attended conference.
200 and
Attendance was up. the, young people, they're really pushing that now, to get involved. Young professionals, excuse me, yes, sir. Professional. And they talk trash about us all.
They did, didn't they? I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, just move out of the way, we'll get it done. Some of the points, that I thought was interesting was one that, install walls to, increase landfill space. I've talked to Vance about it early on, and, of course, we're gonna be looking at that through the, management study to look at all of our properties.
Still think we should thank pyramids.
Anything else, yeah, that we can do to, push the closing date further out. We saw programs on leachate seeps, and what I saw on the screen, I have never seen at this landfill. There were some terrible looking, seeps, but they gave us a lot of ideas on how you, cure those situations. But, we have some spots, but we don't have seeps. Had a good, point on the equipment issues, sizing equipment, how big you need. Bigger ain't always better. But the fellow that did that program was, he did a great job. Another point that everybody, I think, enjoyed was, using falcons for the, helping the bird population.
The chairman wants an F-150.
And matter of fact, that young lady will be here Thursday at 10 o'clock on the landfill. She was coming to visit Charleston, and she's gonna run on up and look at our landfill and the size and give us some ideas. The final point was on safety, and the National Executive of SWANA was there, David Biederman, and he did a great job on safety, and it really opened your eyes on how dangerous our profession is and the percentages, and we all just got to do a lot better job on the safety. Next point is the plastic and bag deal at the Capitol. It did not pass.
Which is dead.
Yeah,
Ding dong, bill is dead.
but it will come back up next year. It's got a second year.
Oh, the biennial ended, so they have to start over. That was the second year of the biennial.
I hope you're right. But it did not pass this year. There was a lot of pushing at the end, but it's hard for us to help that situation when we had two House members on the original bill signed off, and that has never been talked about that I've heard in any of the workshops and everything that I've heard locally.
The state chamber made it a high priority as well.
Yeah. I attended the Tidewater Community Meeting last month, and of course Steve was there, and it was one of the most memorable HOA meetings that I've attended, and there was a lot of very important people there from the Highway Department, Tony Cox, City of North Myrtle Beach was in attendance, the county, and it's a very active community, and the reason I was there was about cleanups and what we could do, and at one time, we was working with a preacher in the Little River Neck area, and we put dumpsters out like we do in other communities, and we pledged that support. The update on Charleston, seems like it's a very unique situation. We've heard that the MRF has been stopped construction. Some reason we can't find out really a lot about it. Last Thursday, I requested information for this meeting, tonight, and we did not get any information. We needed timelines and some ideas about scheduling, something real, something in writing, something that we could plan on. But
We heard that there was miscommunication and the equipment that was purchased doesn't fit the floor plan of what is underway.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the real reason is, but right now, we've extended our contract till the end of January, and it's gonna be hard for staff to recommend any kind of extensions after that. If we were talking about a month, it'd be one thing, but if it's gonna be months and months, and, we've got to take a look at our equipment, we got to do some upgrades, we've got to do some maintenance. We picked up 2 additional, cardboard routes. So we've got that on our backs now also. But, I was hoping that we'd have some information for the meeting tonight, but I failed to get it.
The administrator, didn't she commit to you that she was gonna get that info for you?
No, I didn't talk to her, I talked to someone in her office.
Oh, okay. I was thinking at Swana, I was thinking at Swana, that she had said that she would get back with you on that, maybe not.
We will just have to see where we go with the Charleston situation, but if we don't get information, you're not advised of what's going on. It's hard to participate with it. And that's my report.
Duckworth, Representative Duckworth was one of the people that voted on the bill, and I had some conversation with a couple of the North Myrtle Beach Council people, and they've already talked to him, and he told them, both of them, he said, I just made a mistake. He said, and that he would see what he could do on the next go-around, but he said, I just made a mistake. I don't know where he didn't read the bill, but you know, he's environmentalist type guy anyway, so, but,
It was a surprise that he voted the way he did.
yeah.
Danny, are you thinking that there's a need for us to write a letter that you didn't get a reply when you made the request, that we need to demand that they respond because of the urgency of the time that's remaining?
Well, the urgency is on their part. I can't understand no response, but I think we need to put something in writing to them that after this contract's up, it'll be pretty much over.
I think, Madam Chairman, we do need to make a written communication with them to reinforce what our director is just reporting.
I think so, Dan. If you think that's the right thing to do, if you'll just write them a letter and tell them time is short, and, you know, with what we're doing, trying to keep people on, we need to know,
And they need to know our
And-
position.
and that length of time with the
We'll-
contract is.
We'll put the conversation I had last Thursday in writing and get it to them.
I think that would be prudent. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any terms and conditions by which we would consider, even if the arrangements were changed to be more advantageous, that we would consider
Well,
an extension, or, I mean, is it,
we will be used all the extensions in the contract.
right?
Basically, will be a new contract for, you know, if they're looking at short term, a month, 2 months, 3
For
months.
the terms and conditions will
Yeah.
probably change
They will.
substantially, but in order to ensure that we're protected and the
Right.
condition of the machines and all things considered, that we would make sure that the contract, albeit fair, would be something that would be advantageous to us to consider.
And after the last board meeting, where I recommended doing the extension, we got that letter, we got that in the mail, and then it was a couple of days later when I found out that, the building had been stopped for some reason. So,
Thank you.
The contract we got is a pretty decent contract. Would we change much of it at all if they come back and ask for an extension, or there's some things that we need
well,
to?
we had advised them that, you know, if they had a month left getting into their building, or that I felt sure that the board would work with them on a month or two. But if you stop the whole project for months and months, where does that put us? And we've got to do some work on our MRF, and if it goes down, they're in a jam and we're in a jam, so we've got to protect the plant also.
We would have to include something to maintain and repair and update our equipment is basically what we're looking at, if it extends out, or if they ask for an extension.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Is that what you were referring to, Lance?
Just, yeah, to make sure that we were protected, obviously, but I just, I didn't know if it was something that we wouldn't even want to consider continuing the relationship, or if it could be something that could be structured to ensure that, you know, our machinery was protected or maintained in a fashion that wouldn't be harmful to us. So
Because we've been planning on upgrades for the last couple of years.
Right.
So,
There's going to be a diminishing point soon to do that work and without wholesale replacement.
When is the last date that this extension is through that they have now?
end of January.
The end of January, okay. Any more questions?
thank you.
Okay. Committee reports, we had a recycling committee and corporate affairs this afternoon. Mr. Hughes, the chairman, was not feeling well and he went home, so at that recycling committee meeting, what he did was report on the Carolina Recycling Association conference in Cherokee that he attended. He was telling us the Cherokee Indian tribe handled the recycling for the residents in the area and Harrah's Casino. He stated the Cherokee tribal chief has the final say in all recycling programs. Wouldn't that be great to have one person that had that say?
How easy is he to remove?
They vote him in or out. I guess if they like or dislike how he recycles. He shared with us some pictures from the Cherokee Way to Zero Waste tour he attended, and explained that they utilize a transfer station system to pull various commodities out of the waste stream. Those commodities include food waste, cooking oil, scrap metal, lotion scraps, and composting. He discussed that they had received a pilot program grant utilizing recycled tires, and he indicated the tires were processed in a manner that it removes the chemical, kerosene gas, and diesel from the tires prior to landfilling. He indicated there were challenges facing this program, which included no end market for that byproduct, not having enough tires, and the tribal chief influence. It was very interesting to see that they had a piece of equipment that would pull all of this out of tires. And that would be a way of dealing with tires, and I think everyone has that problem. But they don't have a end product for what they pull out. So, and it's also not very large. I think it's more of an experimental thing that people are looking at, but they have to do a whole lot more work before it would be considered. The highlights from other sessions included MRF technology and recycling plastic waste at hospitals. They were showing some of the robotic arms that they have now that go in and pick the plastics and metals and things off of the system, but they're still having problems with those. And they are working with recycling plastic waste at the hospitals. General discussion regarding the conference with Mr. Scott Goldberg at the Conway Medical Center, which currently has an extensive recycling program. Mr. Ives was in our audience, and he commented on the excellent recycling programs at Conway Hospital, which include textile recycling. Mr. Hughes enjoyed the conference, and overall he thought it was very interesting and hoped that in the future some of those things would would do better and come to fruition. Mr. Knight informed the group that the store currently has one vendor selling strawberries on site 2 days a week, and indicated it's their goal to have certified agricultural vendors selling their products at the store. And hopefully, we will get more of those in the future, and especially with the products that'll be coming up shortly with the produce in the area. Litter was discussed. Mr. Ives stated that a great deal of the litter on the road is from residents not tarping their loads, and that Mr. Knight has been meeting with the Horry County Police on patrolling the recycling centers to remind residents to use their tarps. Mr. Hughes also said he had left, and as they were picking up trash by the road, he went to Conway to take care of some business, and it looked marvelous. When he came back, it looked like it did before, and that there were actually black bag with garbage in the ditches, and that the people picking it up were doing a great job, and that unfortunately, he feels a lot of our problem are actually residents that live on Highway 90, as I'm sure that is with most roads throughout this county, and that's sad. That's all I know to say. There was nothing to vote on in the recycling committee, so that is the end of the recycling report. Do we-
Mr. Knight, who takes our tires now? Dillon Tire?
Carolina,
Carolina Tire. Are we paying them or they paying us?
we paying them.
It's a lot.
Because
See
at
the
one
reports.
time, the asphalt people were taking tires, but they were paying us all right.
They were taking shingles.
Was it shingles?
Yeah, and they weren't paying us, they were trucking them.
Yeah.
They paid for the trucking. And then we got the tipping fee, they come and got them, and we didn't have to put them
We
in
had
the
to pay a
landfill.
process.
But apparently, diesel hadn't got up high enough yet to make it interesting to them to use them again.
Is there any old business? Okay. New business is the fiscal year 2019 budget consideration. Ms. Biddy?
Yes, we held a budget workshop on March 13th where we reviewed the budget with the board and discussed any items up for discussion. On April 24th, we had a public hearing, and there was no questions or concerns with the budget. I am asking that the board approve the FY19 operating budget of $27,364,542, which does include the unincorporated collection system. And within that unincorporated collection system, they do have a capital budget of $286,000. And then also the SWA capital budget of $10,788,500.
Any questions?
Can I get a reminder on what we were doing with the tipping fees? I know we talked about the
There's-
tiered,
Right, there is no budgeted increase this year. Since we have, like you said, mentioned earlier, we have seen revenue over expenses, and so we do feel like the current tipping fee is more than enough at this time. We'll review it each year, but no increase in
and that was the
tipping
plan
fees.
back in the original discussion, was the increase and then to monitor it and then.
That's right, yes, sir.
Thank you.
If it was necessary, we would increase, and we don't feel the necessity this year.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You entertaining a motion?
I am.
I move to approve the fiscal year 2019 operating budget proposed by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. That has been approved. Thank you, Ms. Bidding, for all
Thank
the hard
you.
work you and your staff have done.
Well, I appreciate the board's input. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to be looking at the used water truck purchase consideration.
Yes, ma'am. We have a current water truck that we bought in 2011, which is a 1998 model when we bought it. So it was considerably old when we bought it, but it was what we could afford. We did, there was $150,000 put in this year's budget to buy another one, which we feel like that if we could if the board would approve us to add some additional funds to that we could buy a 5,000 gallon tank We got a 2,000 now. We could buy a 5,000 gallon tank, use less time and labor filling up. It's actually an off-road or a off-road truck that's got a tank on it. It's 5,000
We
gallon
use it to
tank.
keep the dust down.
Keep dust down. We have to keep it watered and dusted, and a lot of times we can't make one full circle with the truck. This would allow us to make a one pass without having to go run back and forth to get it fueled up. We'd like to use about $75,000 out of the grinder we bought. We had some funds left over when we purchased the grinder for the yard waste, and we'd like to get the board's permission to use those funds, $75,000 of those funds, in order to have enough money to purchase one.
Is there any
And
remaining-
it will be a used truck as well.
Is there any remaining life to the 1998 truck?
What we plan to do is, we actually have a spare that's even older one. I don't even know exactly what it's, we've had it for a long time. We will sell that unit and then take the other unit and move it back to the yard waste. In case we have a fire or something at yard waste, we'd be able to have water right there on site and ready to put out a fire.
This is an articulated rear dump with a tank on it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for. We found one, we actually found one, and they sold it before we could find it, before we could go buy it. The guy's got two more, but he's got them out on rent. He's willing to sell them. He's making another one. He's willing to sell them. So we need to be prepared to buy it the minute he gets one available. They go pretty fast.
We will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the funds to purchase the water truck.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Bassett, you have your truck.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your staff. It does great
You're
work.
not going to ask for the F-150
I beg your
to
pardon?
scare off the seagulls?
No, we have a Seagull recycler that 2,000 that's going to be show us how they do that on Thursday.
Bring red with them.
That's right. That, for those of you that were not at the convention, they were showing us how they used Raptors to get seagulls to remove from the airports and landfills, and you would think that there was nothing to this, but these people have it down to a science. They use eagles in Canada. They cannot use eagles here. They use the Raptors here. And they actually say that the seagulls understand where the birds are coming out of. So I think it was Waste Management had white F-150 trucks. So they would go on the landfills, and they bought a white F-150 truck, and they sent the bird out of the truck. And so once the bird goes out, then all of the birds are then, in their mind, one of those Raptors is going to come out and catch them anytime a white F-150 truck drives through. So all of their trucks driving through, the seagulls will leave and go away and eventually stay gone for a period of time. So it was really interesting to see how they launched the bird out of the truck. And they said the bird had to actually catch one of the seagulls. They wouldn't let him kill him, because that bird was the first one that got scared when they saw the truck and get everybody to leave. So,
That Walls theory, didn't it?
Oh,
right. So for those of you who have never heard of that or listened to what they had to say, they had it down to a scientific,
That's great.
detailed thing of what they're doing. I was very impressed.
Red Hawks, I believe is what this is.
Very impressed with that.
And their hawk was named Red.
Right.
The seagulls actually perform a service for us, so they pick out some landfill and save us airspace.
Take it on.
They do.
Drop
and,
over Carolina
and,
Forest.
and drop it on Carolina Forest. And,
Kroger's parking lot.
all right. So we could do that, but it was very interesting, and they did point out somebody. I was telling someone about this and showing pictures of the bird, and someone said, "Well, why do you bother?" But one of the pictures they had was someone on the top of a landfill trying to use a dozer with about 500 birds around him, and the poor man couldn't see where he was going.
Looked
So
like-
there,
Looked like the Hitchcock movie.
yeah, at times there are reasons to this. So anyway, that was very interesting. Next item, nominating committee appointments. It's come down to the end of this year. where we are going to be nominating officers again. So I need to set the nomination committee, and I would appreciate it if Mr. Lance Thompson would chair that. Mr. Mike Campbell would be on that, and Mr. Sam Johnson would be on that. And if you would like to coordinate that with your other two members, we would appreciate that, and come up with some officers so that we can vote on those in our next meeting.
That was my question on the time frame before the next meeting. We
Before
need
the
to have a
next-
slate before the next
Yes,
meeting.
because we will vote on that in June.
Okay.
And then these officers will take their positions in July.
Great.
At the next meeting.
Thank you,
So
Madam
I
Chairman.
would appreciate that very much. Or is there any roundtable discussion? Okay. Then we need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing a personnel matter, the executive director's evaluation.
So
I
moved.
make
A motion and a second.
second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will go into executive session.
You get that name?
Yeah, I got it.
I need a motion to come out of executive session and back into open session.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that the executive session was held for the purpose of discussing a personnel matter. There were no votes or action taken in the executive session. It is appropriate at this time, if it's the desire of the board, to entertain a motion to proceed with the personnel matter along the lines discussed in executive session.
Along the lines of the matters that were discussed, Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we give the executive director a 3% merited increase in his pay.
Any discussion? Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. That has been done. Mr. Knight, I'd like to say that every one of the board members was in agreement that your job has been exemplary. And we're very proud of you and proud of what you have done, and we appreciate your job.
Thank you very much.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. This meeting is
Yes.
adjourned. Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Good job, everybody.